everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be comparing both Running Man films, the 2025 movie starring Glen Powell and the 1987 original starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, the concept of the Running Man is a very intriguing one. We have this big game show where contestants are thrown in and there are people hunting them. It is almost like an early model Hunger Games. So the 1987 dystopian action thriller starring Arnold Schwarzenegger was a B-grade film specially tailored to its star and striving to compete with bigger budgeted action movies. It had a great, intriguing concept, but not quite at the A level of execution. But the movie went out of its way to play at Arnold's strengths, and that's where the film becomes a hokey, campy good time. It's a movie that draws you in. If you're a film buff like me and you saw this Arnold film in '87, you do have some deep-rooted nostalgia here. It's not one of Arnold's best, but it was just an entertaining blast back in the day. And the Arnold film contains some great support from Maria Conchita Alonso. It had those great yellow outfits, but the performer that added a real X factor to that 1987 Running Man movie was Richard Dawson as the game show host. He really knocked it out of the park. He was a nasty, mean piece of work, but he stayed in character the whole way through. And what was great about it is that Dawson's past was that in real life he was a game show host. He at one point was the host of America's Family Feud. So really Dawson was doing a bit of self-parody as the host of The Running Man. And I think Dawson nailed his performance in the '87 film. He was really creepy and the audience just despised him. And there was a lot of colourful supporting roles in that Arnold film. We had Jim Brown, the former All-American football star. He played one of Arnold's adversaries. And we also had a larger-than-life performance by Jesse Ventura, who stepped it up in the finale and faced Arnold in those closing moments. So The Running Man was this big, campy B-movie reaching out for A-list status, and it just wound up playing to Arnold's strengths. So the Arnold film has a lot of fun with its supporting characters. It's almost like watching a game show with a tinge of rock and roll wrestling thrown in, where the stakes are high and people's lives are on the line. So it has that fun, carefree attitude. And I think if you saw that movie back then, you just enjoyed the thrill of it. Watching it today, the nostalgia kicks in and you enjoy it all over again. So it's a film that sits in Arnold's catalogue as passable, and if you're an Arnold fan from back in the day, there's a lot of nostalgia associated with it. So now we move on to the 2025 movie, and Edgarwright is a massive fan of the Arnold film. So Edgar is the perfect writer-director to take on this new assignment, and he really sinks his teeth into it. This is a bigger, bolder A-list film, and it has a $110 million budget. And Edgarwright does a really amazing thing and casts an unassuming action star. He puts Glen Powell in the Arnold Schwarzenegger role, and he even finds a moment in this film to show a shirtless Glen Powell to make you believe that he can stack up to Arnold's physique. This 2025 film has some humour within, but it does try to be more serious, and I think as a result it's slightly out of balance. So we have a fun B movie, we have an A-list movie trying to aim for blockbuster status, and both movies wind up on the same playing field. So the new film pulls no punches. It's loud, it's boisterous, it's in your face, but it goes for over 2 hours and it outstays its welcome, and it ultimately winds up becoming a little pretentious. It's an intriguing concept. They've thrown everything at it, but the film almost escapes on the filmmaker, despite Glen Powell trying his darndest to keep this film centred. Now, the plots in both Running Mans are a little bit different. In the Arnold version, he plays a falsely convicted policeman who actually is thrust into the game, and everyone hopes to see his demise. In this new film, Glenn Powell is an angry guy who is struggling with his day-to-day life. He doesn't have any money and he has an extremely sick daughter. Now, I think the emotion of the new film gets under our skin and gets us more involved. So I think the new film, the setup, is superior to the 87 film. The 87 film, those opening scenes are a little bit hokey. Arnold does add enough flavour and strongman attitude to keep us watching, but the early bit of the Glenn Powell film makes it a more sophisticated entertainment, and I think it has a great 45 minutes and then gets out of control. The Arnold movie is clunky at the start, it's clunky throughout, but Arnold keeps us watching. He entertains us. Whereas in the Glenn Powell film, we're kind of left in the dark in the midsection of the film, and when it tries to get us back on board towards the end, we've run out of steam with connective tissue and we kind of almost give up in those final moments. Now, the Arnold film was fairly violent. It was R-rated, and this movie is also an R in the United States. It's an MA in Australia, and in terms of violence, I think the Arnold film still pushes the envelope. This new film doesn't seem as vicious with some of those kills, but nevertheless, both films do feature impactful action sequences, but the Arnold film takes the edge off with a little bit more comedy. And remember, the Arnold film has him delivering the line, "I'll be back." And when you have a movie where Arnold delivers a line such as that, it's a little bit hard to dislike. That movie puts a smile on your face. And I was waiting for the Powell movie to have some one-liners like that, but it just hasn't got that memorable punch like the Arnold film. Now, my bold assessment of the 2025 Running Man is that it's superior to the 1987 film in almost every aspect, from the cast to the production design to the overall setup of the movie. It is a bigger, bolder, more engaging film. If you weren't an Arnold fan, the 1987 film did nothing for you. But if you were an Arnold fan, that earlier film is just drenched in nostalgia and will take you back to that happy place where fans would just rent it on home video over and over again and watch it during its repeated cable plays. So I get it. The Arnold movie does its own thing and it has a lot of fun with it. And this 2025 movie is a more studious project where they're trying to improve on every aspect of that 87 film, plus at the same time be very honest with its approach to the literary works of Stephen King. Now, I've never read that King novel, but many people will attest that it is more faithful to its source material than the 87 Arnold film. So at the end of the day, The Running Man from 1987 was this big, over-the-top sci-fi fantasy movie that was perfectly tailored for Arnold Schwarzenegger and his fan base, whereas the 2025 movie is embracing the concept more and trying to make a bigger, bolder, more creative movie. So all in all, I would have to say that both films aren't perfect, but they're both entertaining in their own right. The 87 film was serviceable for Arnold's fan base in that time period, and this movie is trying to be a blockbuster. And both films have their pros and cons. Arnold has always been a likeable leading man, and Glenn Powell is a pretty serviceable, likeable actor by today's standards. So you have two leading men that are very committed to the project. You have Edgarwright doing his utmost to make this 2025 version a total bullseye, but falls short. And the 87 film featured a director that was just a gun for hire and was trying to make the most out of a B-grade Arnold action movie. And when I say B-grade, the 87 film came onto our screens between the Terminator and Predator. So it was a film that Arnold got involved in that was trying to reach for the stars but just didn't quite have the budget to back it up. It overall became a success, but it was a small movie trying to climb mountains. This movie has a great expense at its disposal, and Edgar Wright is a real fan of the subject matter. So here's two films with different elements at their disposal, but their aim is to entertain. And in their own right, each film entertains to a point. So I would have to say that the Arnold film is a hokey good time, and that the Glen Powell film directed by Edgar Wright is trying to do everything, and because it's trying to do everything, the film gets a little bit convoluted and overblown. So despite the 2025 movie being superior in a lot of departments, in the end, the Arnold film has the star power of Arnold, which raised the material at the time with those one-liners, and it was very effective to that audience. So the 2025 movie is superior on a technical level, a budgetary level, a directorial level, and an acting level. But the old film from '87 has so much charm, and it has a larger-than-life action hero. So at the end of the day, the films kind of level out, and it's a split decision. Both films try to do something a little bit different. They run in their own lane despite being from the same source material, and I think the films can be enjoyed in their own right. So they're entertaining, they're imperfect, but they're just fun action escapism. So if you like a film with a dystopian slant and an intriguing reality game show theme, both Running Mans do their bit and then some. I look at them now as equals. I don't really want to put one above the other, so we'll just say that they do their own thing to a point. So tell me what you think of the Running Man '87 and the Running Man 2025. Tell me your pros and cons for both films. That just about does it for today, and I'll see you all again very soon. Take care.